What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 94 of the Overview. I'm ChanManV, and we're finally started. We're much later than the start time was originally announced, and you can blame that guy right there. That guy right there.
Okay, fair, but I'm now going to point the blame at LA traffic. So
Oh my
blame
God.
LA and the traffic in the city, and
Oh,
also
that's fun.
not accounting for it. So yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I'm definitely happy we finally got started, and of course, extremely happy because we have Fragi joining us as our guest today from the Philadelphia Fusion. What's up, buddy?
Hello there. Thank you for having me.
Man, I love the dining room, chandelier thing you got in the background, man. Like that's definitely one look I haven't seen from a team house ever. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty good house. Huh?
Yeah. Okay. 12 people, it better be a good house. It's gotta be.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Right.
Well, it's also the one house that has an incredible chef with it as well, which everyone is immensely jealous of. So well done,
Yeah.
Philly, there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on vacation now though. We're for now.
That's
for
why
like 5 days.
that's why you see those in and out videos, right?
Yep.
Okay, makes sense now. Well, we haven't been here for a while, so obviously lots to talk about. But we'll start off by mentioning that this episode is sponsored by ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter's a job site that does an awesome job of aggregating lots of candidates and job postings. So you can definitely check that out. We'll talk a little bit more about them later. But since we have Fragi on, I figured we would just start off by just peppering Fragi with a bunch of questions and interviewing him and doing all that good stuff. So, yeah, why don't we start off just how's life in Cali, man? You've been there now for like a couple months now at least, right? Things good?
Yeah, 4 months now. It's been really nice. It was like uncharacteristically raining a bit, like for 2 weeks or so.
Mhm.
Week back, it was a bit cold. Not as cold as in Finland though, but it's been pretty good. The Philly Fusion is taking really good care of us.
Yeah.
It's a nice house, so all's good.
All right, that's definitely good. What's the daily regimen like? Do you guys have all that like workout, for X number of hours and go practice and then work out again? It looks like all the teams are starting to get into this like really strict regimen. Are you guys one of those
You
teams?
still there?
Or- Yeah.
Yeah, not really. We don't have any workout plans yet.
Okay.
I think that was like planned later on. We had some like maybe yoga planned at some point to relax people a bit and get up in the morning.
Yeah.
It's mostly just like we have scheduled like lunchtime
Mhm.
at some point, or noon, a bit for noon usually,
Mhm.
and then we have like practice after that,
That's
and
cool.
we end at like 7 p.m. usually and have dinner.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. And I think we were talking a little bit before the show, and you were telling me how like half the team plays at the house and half the team goes to the arena, right? All right. How does that
Yeah, we
work?
split.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 6 and 6 players, so because of the noise issues, we can't really play at the same house. So we split the squads and change who goes to the facility each given day.
Yeah. Okay. So there is such thing as like team one, right? Or team A, which is like, I guess the starting team, right? Is that the team that goes to the arena or is that the team that stays home?
No, we switch like every day.
Oh, you do?
It's
Oh, you
like,
actually just
yeah.
mix it up. Okay. Okay,
Yep.
cool. Good deal. Good deal.
So I kind of want to ask this more broad spectrum because, of course, Fragi, I've seen you in Overwatch matches going all the way back to the beginning. I've kind of seen you go from team to team, from the old school SG1 days to NIP, now to OWL. You're one of the few players that can actually say that they played in tournaments going all the way back then, and you've lived to tell the tale. You've lived to tell the tale in tank role, a role that is being more and more dominated by tanks coming from Korea. How does it feel to be in that position, just the journey as a whole?
I mean, yeah, it's been a long journey for sure. I think I'm just like trying to do my best right now. For sure, there are a lot of good main tanks, especially from Korea, that I need to compete with right now. And it's been pretty tough at times, but I think we have figured the game out a bit better now, myself included. And it's been going a bit better now in stage 2, and I think it's going to be even better in stage 3.
Yeah, I mean this stage, even stage 1, right? Stage 1, I feel like you guys started off with, like a surprising win, and a lot of people were didn't know what to expect from you guys, and I think the rest of the way was, I think kind of average. I think the end of stage 1, but then stage 2 you got off to a really quick start, and then kind of had that little lull moment, and then obviously just that amazing run at the end. What are some of the things that have been changing, like the progression of the team? Like where do you see the biggest improvements, or some of the holes that you guys have been able to fill along the way?
So like stage 1 was mostly like a preseason for us. So we were like figuring out how we want to play the game as a team, what strats we're gonna use, how the shot calling works, and so on. Like in the beginning of stage 2, we kind of put eco in more, which I think fits our playstyle more than Sunburn, I think. And it more we got our like more solid playstyle in stage 2. In like against the Koreans in like week 2 and 3, we had some people sick. Eco was sick 1 week, Boomers was sick 1 week. So we had like some bumps in the road there for our like progressions team. But on week 4 and 5, we definitely got back on track, and we figured out a more solid play style. So that's like why the showings were better.
Yeah. So you meant. Go ahead, Z.
So one thing I would ask is, going into season, obviously people had expectations of where the teams would fall. Philadelphia started out as a team that people didn't have a lot of faith in the beginning, myself included, just because things came together pretty quickly, or so to say, a last minute for Philly at the end, where it feels like, you guys got in the team house a little bit later. This idea that, okay, people are just barely getting in time, and there wasn't sort of this idea as like, okay, how's Philly going to compete? Now, of course, you think about how things have evolved. You end up being number 2 in stage 2. Did you guys always think going in, it's like, yeah, you can you'll be able to climb to number 1, or like, was there any sort of revelation where you're just like, wait, we actually can compete with some of these teams? People are underrating us, and hey, we can overperform where people are putting us right now.
Yeah, for sure. Like from the beginning, we really thought like we had a really good roster, a lot of underrated players. Like for example, Poco. I think like pretty much everyone from outside of Europe was sleeping on him a lot, and I feel like he's at least like top 3 of tanks in the world. Like he's insane on Zarya and really good on Diva. Yeah, it's mostly about like, I think probably a lot of the other rosters probably couldn't have done it as well as us. I feel like our potential, like just individually, is so high that it's going really well for us, even like with the shorter preparation time.
What would you say is the biggest change from your perspective in playing tank at the OWL level versus playing tank in previous teams? Of course, the fabled NIP teams that ran triple tank before teams realized how strong it was, in going all the way back to the SG1 days. How has tanking changed for you over time in Overwatch?
So I guess I'll start with like Winston. Winston has been a bit different. Like I think I thought about Winston play a bit wrong before Overwatch League and stage 1. I kind of like thought about Winston play like being as Winston gain situation all go in at the same time and explode the targets. But in reality, that's like not how it works pretty much ever, because you won't have that kind of synergy, and there's gonna be like obstacles in the way. Like the enemy tracer could like contest your tracer, so he's not be there all the time. So I think the playstyle I got now with Winston, that's like more sneaky and waiting for the opportunity more, and being like more have more freedom of choice on when to engage and when to fall back. That's like a lot of the playstyle than what I had before. That was like all in all the time.
Yeah.
Were there any, in developing your current style, were there any tank players along the way, whether it be at the OWL level or kind of leading into it, where you sort of looked at them and said, wait, they're doing something that's pretty good here. I'm going to start incorporating some of this into my gameplay, but refine it. Like basically any player that blew you away to where it's like, yeah, I kind of like what this guy's doing.
It's not about like, I guess not really blew me away, but like some of the Korean tanks, especially, were like really good with the primal rage mechanics. That's what I improved a lot in stage 2, I think. That's really found as good Winston. I guess Muma from like Western tanks, his playstyle was like really sneaky and kind of played more like that, I think, in stage 2, which fits really well, I think. As for the Ryan play, I think it's pretty much the same. Rio Overwatch League, and now it's a shame we don't get to see it more. But I feel like my run style fits really well even now, and it's really strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, one thing you did talk about a little bit, like about the style, that you're playing Winston and whatnot is different. But one thing's for sure though is you're still on the spectrum of aggressive play, and that's the thing I love about watching you and especially Poco. And talk about that. Like, is it right now? I feel like it's favoring you guys, particularly the last week too. I just like the style, just that kind of aggressive style.
You're not a coward, Fragi.
Yeah, you're definitely not a coward, and some of the plays you pull off are just like highlight reels, which I freaking love. So, yeah, just talk about that style and how it's working out for you guys, because again, like I feel like you guys play much more aggressive than the other teams.
I guess it's more for me now, like waiting for my chance. I guess we tend to dive more aggressive than usually with Winston. Against some teams, I think we try to be a bit more passive nowadays because I feel like it's a better fit against some teams to play passive themselves and are like really good at anti-dive. Then you can't like just go all in all the time. But usually, like if you're really aggressive and set the pace of the game, it's pretty hard for the enemy to react and play their own game. So that's I think why we tend to maybe go a bit more aggressive usually.
Yeah, one thing too with just your array of players that you have in the team. Right now, you got like a full roster with 12. One of the things, at least with your DPS options, you guys have obviously some great players at DPS, and at times 2 of them have to sit. And we're looking at Carpe and Snillo and Shadow and EQO. It's like, how do you choose? Like I think you mentioned that EQO. It's just like he fits better with the style of play that you guys have, and you could definitely see it because your results do show that. And then Snillo had like an amazing series, at least on that Sunday. I think he just played, he was definitely one of the highlights of Sunday. Have you guys found that right combo, just in terms of what and when to play, which maps to use, the, certain DPS players?
So definitely towards later stage of stage 2, later weeks and stuff. I think Carpe is probably in all of our optimal DPS setups. It's just so good individually. It's kind of unreal. So we just kind of built the DPS comps around him. And right now it's mostly Eco and Snillo who we put with him depending on the map. I think Salabur might come in later on, maybe. But yeah, his style with Genji is a bit different from Eco. I feel like his Pharah is really good. So if there's like, I think like Oasis or something comes in later on, or like really some Pharah maps, I think we should see more Salabur for sure.
Question, by the way, and just before we get too far away from the tank side of things, is that obviously people see you when you're on a hero like Reinhardt and you're very aggressive, to say the least. Not a coward, etc. as you move in. But the average Reinhardt, if they were to try doing that in a pub, well, they would just get blown away. Can you talk a little bit to the degree of what goes into supporting you when you go in for that stuff? Because not only does it require good game sense on your part, but what comes in for your team is that it kind of requires full support from your flex tank, from your supports. How did you sort of have to coordinate all of that to make that style work?
So with Ryan, it's usually pretty easy for my teammates actually, because when you play with Ryan, usually when I go aggressive, I like push the space and everyone can just focus in the front, Everyone just looks forward and like reacts to stuff that's like what the enemies are doing, what I'm doing, and just try to support me. Usually it's like when my playstyle like works correctly, I think it's a lot easier for my team to play, and it's like a really easy way to win. I think if you play it right, so it's not like that tough to coordinate. I think.
If only that could happen on the ladder. Just with, I'm playing Ryan. Please pocket me. And it's like they're pocketing everybody else but me. So it's really
Would the same level of coordination work if you had someone insta-lock Hanzo and you only had one support?
Exactly, right?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Yeah. So, definitely a great finish, at the end of stage 2. Like I think the series with London, I felt like, at least for a lot of folks, it didn't sound like it was for you guys because you guys had like high expectations anyways. But I think for London, you guys taking it, in such an epic series too, it really kind of solidified, you guys, in this top of the league, at least one of the top teams in the league. So, and then taking, NYXL to the limit too. I mean, for sure, you guys are going to be one of the favorites going into stage 3. How are you feeling about it? Like I feel like you just weren't satisfied at all, like finishing, and you felt like you guys should have won. Is that true?
Yeah, so I guess going to the New York game first.
Yeah.
Of course, like we are like hot from the London game. We beat them 3-2. That's really good for us. We feeling really good. Then we start the New York set. We go up 2-0. At that point, of course, like okay, I think about it. Okay, it's best of 5. It's 3 maps left. You just need to win 1 map, and you're the state champion. So obviously, in the end, it's not that fun to getting like reverse swept. Not fun ever.
Yeah.
And like really disappointing to like kind of waste a chance to get a state championship under your belt.
The interesting thing though is that you think back to how Overwatch used to be, especially back to the old days. You didn't see reverse sweeps all that often. I think part of that was the idea that teams that were on top, it felt like there was a more clear definition where you had your, whether it be an IDD QD type team back before their Envy or something like that was like super dominant, right? Whereas OWL, it feels like teams have more parity now to a degree that on any given day you can have upsets, or even within a series you can have situations where it's more common that a team might take the first 2 maps and then have another team come back. How have you felt overall in terms of just the level of play in the league with the idea that most teams seem to be a threat?
Yeah, it's definitely, there's so much parity. All the teams are so good. So on any given day, it depends so much on like the players' moods, just their form on that day, like how good like the DPS are doing. It's changed so much. So that's why I think the upsets happen so much more, and some series might seem weird, like some players might not be performing at times, and because teams are so close, that affects the game a lot.
Was fatigue an issue on Final Sunday? Like, not saying make an excuse or anything like that, but when you do come in, you're not the number 1 seed for Playoff Sunday in an OWL stage right now. It does mean that you have to play through 2 sets, and of course, you have your set versus London, and you get a very tiny break, and you have to go in against NYXL, and you get 2 wins immediately, and you end up getting reverse swept. Do you think fatigue was a factor at all in how that played out, or just New York just started playing better?
I think it's both probably. I feel like the fatigue had a little bit of an effect, but not too big. It's mostly about just losing a bit of focus, not playing like to the utmost potential, and that's like against the team like New York, that's not gonna cut it. If you're like gonna not focus fully, you're gonna get punished for it.
I mean, those games weren't like giveaways. I mean, they were all really, really close. So
yeah, maybe not so much.
Yeah, okay, I give you that one. but it's definitely hard fought. And so in terms of stage 3, I mean, are you feeling like you guys are favorites in this one, or one of the favorites? I mean, NYXL, I feel like still is the team to beat, but are you guys feeling really confident given that nothing's really changing, in terms of the meta too much, in this next?
Well, no. You do have I believe the Sombra changes are going live for OWL Stage 3, which might be no change at all in the sense that teams that have run it in contenders have had pretty mixed results. I would say that overall, a good team running Sombra is actually less scary than that same team running not Sombra. But there are people who kind of feel like, wait, maybe that's going to change at the OWL level, and that's actually a reasonable transition here. Fragi, are you guys planning on using Sombra more heavily in stage 3? Has the coaching staff sort of put much thought into that on the Fusion side? Like, where do you see Sombra?
So I think the Sombra changes hit the live already, where I think she gets like 2 seconds cooldown if the hack gets involved with the damage, and also the hack doesn't like linger around corners. So I don't think the Sombra is that strong anymore. So it's not going to be like a scroll pay that not be used everywhere. So I think the biggest change for stage 3 is going to be the map pool, which is going to be really different from stage 2. So that's where we might see.
Isn't Blizzard World coming into play for stage 3?
Oh my gosh, that's going to be sweet.
Is the map pool confirmed already? I don't know. It was right. Can I talk about it?
Oh wait, maybe we should be talking about it, or maybe we should ask Fragi. But if Blizzard World's going to be in it, it's going to be sweet.
You could confirm it already. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm not trying to leak Reno either. I'm not sure if I heard it somewhere. I'm just like assuming, but I mean, it's been around for a while. Now would be kind of the time to play Blizzard World if you were going to play it. So, I mean, let's put it this way: have you put any thought into Blizzard World?
Not yet too much. We are on a break still. If it's gonna be in straight stream map pool, I think it's been published already, so we can talk about it.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, Blizzard World is there. It's gonna be like Volskaya, Anubis, 2CP, which are
Oh my gosh.
not my favorite maps maybe
Yeah.
at the moment. I think Hanamura was really good map for us from 2CP, so I think the 2CPs are gonna be a bit tougher for us this time around.
Mm.
Then you have Blizzard World and Numbani. So obviously Blizzard World, that's gonna be a new experience to say the least.
Yeah.
I think the second point change they did on the PTR, I think.
Yeah, it's on the
Still
PTR
pretty
right now.
good. But I don't know if that's gonna hit the stage 3 Overwatch League or not.
Probably
So-
not. I mean, it'd have to be out by next week. So it's not,
before the league.
Yeah.
They don't want to change the like if any teams play the map before
Yeah.
that, they don't want to change it anymore. So
I don't. Yeah.
it's tough to say. I think if the change, that was probably like a pretty good map, but without change, the second point seems like the spawns are too close
Yeah.
for defenders. Maybe.
So Brigitte's gonna make it too then into this patch?
No, Brigitte is not going to be.
Sorry,
stage
Brigitte,
three.
yeah.
Brigitte,
Is
she won't be until stage 4 at a minimum.
oh okay. Yeah. I thought maybe she would get in with the Sombra change too, but okay. Cool. We have
Yeah,
to
then
wait
we had-
another 5 weeks for Brigitte.
Well,
Yeah.
it goes off of ranked, right? And because she's
Yeah.
not available in ranked right now,
Yeah.
she's not going to be available.
Yeah. Then we had Numbani and Chunkytown. Chunkytown especially.
Junkertown's back
Interesting map.
again. Okay. Wow. This map
Back again.
was really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Junkertown being back again in particular is that even after the Mercy changes and Mercy got toned down a bit, if you
Yeah.
look at contenders play, people are still running Pirate Chip comps fairly regularly. They're not really going full Pirate Chip and running the Bastion in a lot of cases, though that still happens, but it's still a more unique opening where you get the double sniper setups, you get the Orisa on the cart, and
Yeah.
you're trying to protect in and around that, and you're still running a Mercy. So for better or for worse, it is a very unique escort map.
Yeah, for sure. Mercy's gonna be played there. Like the Widow Mercy comps are so strong. On
Yeah.
map like wherever you like run Widow, Mercy is good with Widow because you can rest. If you lose the Widow, you can just rest and try again.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Well, why don't we talk about some of the things that we see on, let's see, the PTR change. Like the PTR right now has a few interesting balance changes right now. So why don't we kind of transition into that? So let me bring that up real quick. Here we go. Let's see. Yeah, and these, who I'm not sure exactly when these are going to be out, but if history is consistent here, this should be out in like
2
weeks time. Yeah, like
Yeah.
maybe exactly. So we got the Blizzard World change, which you mentioned before. So the actual first payload checkpoints like further back. But the Void teammates, Jeff had a developers update that kind of talked about that. It's kind of nice. We're finally getting something where we can just like, hey, I don't want to play with this dude ever again, or at least for a week, and we actually have that option now, which is nice.
I think the biggest part about the option is that even though it will like affect a few notorious individuals fairly badly, Steve-O, to name like probably the most affected that people think is like, yeah, I'm gonna block this, is that I just think it's a powerful psychological tool. I don't think players getting the avoid option is going to change their win rates much at all, but it gives people that extra level of control to a degree where even though it's not really changing their destiny that much, it's fooling them into thinking that's changing their destiny heavily, which is actually a big deal in the end user experience. Like the guy you got on your team that you think is completely throwing might not be throwing to the degree you give it credit for just because, look, he's in your skill tier. But if some guy has just offended you to that degree, not being able to queue up again without going, oh, I'm going to be stuck with this guy one more time, that's psychologically freeing to an extent, right?
Well,
So
that's the whole point of this thing. I mean, it's not so much that I'm going to have a better chance to not win next time as much as I just had a horrible time playing with this dude, so I don't want to play with this dude again. So I think that it serves more of a purpose for that. It's just having a happier experience, playing Overwatch.
Yep.
So I think that's
Yep.
going to be huge. Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a good thing for sure.
Oh yeah. What I mean? Anything else? On
Yeah.
this? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Chiming in, I guess. Definitely, like, if there's gonna be some horror stories from like Steve or someone, like they have like 3 hours queue times because everyone has blocked them, it's gonna possibly
Yeah.
like deter other people from like trolling or one-tricking or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
It actually is going to help out streamers as well, because there are cases where even though streamers have a better chance of getting Blizzard to react to it, if you have one determined guy that's trying to get into your games and grief over and over again, you get a little bit more control in avoiding that person by using one of your 2 avoids on them. So that definitely helps.
Yeah. This is kind of an indirect way of solving the, like one-trick pony type of one-trick issues here. It's because a lot of them will be, right, like probably marked down as a void teammate. And like you said with Steve-O, right, that could be happening to a lot of these people.
And it's really just the one-trick builders. Like, no one's going to avoid a one-trick tracer that's playing well, or a one-trick.
Yeah, but of course.
Even like a one-trick widow, if it's doing well, people generally are going to respect that to a degree.
Yeah.
It's literally going to be, are you one-tricking Torbjorn or Symmetra on attack? I don't want you on my team. That is how people are going to use it. And you're right, it is sort of a soft ban.
Yeah. I see another little thing is they removed the poor teamwork option. They added gameplay sabotage for griefing, which is like, wow, okay, that's a very explicit option there. But I guess it's pretty clear as to what that means. But let's get into the balance change. I think the rest of them are just kind of so. I mean, not huge changes here, but we're talking about D.Va here with micro missiles. So the explosive damage is reduced from 6 to 4, which in these developer comments, apparently the net result is a 22% damage reduction, which is quite a bit. That's like, just over a fifth of the damage. Given D.Va's, like kind of diving in with the missiles is a pretty big part of what she does. How much of this is going to affect pro level play, Fragi?
I feel like not too much.
Okay.
It's like a welcome change though. I think a lot of the players like to test this, like a small nerf to D.Va, just a small one, and I think this seems like a pretty good one.
Okay.
So like D.Vas can't just like burst down Winston's and like Zenyatta so easily.
Yeah.
Here's another way of looking at the nerf too, or nerfing for any video game ever. Are people still going to use the hero after the nerf? And the answer for D.Va is yes. If she's still going to be actively used, still going to be one of the most used heroes in the game, and it's after a nerf, it means the nerf was absolutely justified.
Yeah.
And you stop and think about why people use D.Va, right? Is that they use her because she has incredible mobility for getting into spots, especially for dive, where she can easily support a Winston. Defensive matrix is still really good, even though it's half the duration that it used to be. And then she can get in people's face and apply suppressive damage, or sometimes outright pick people off. And it'll be that very final part that you get a little bit less. And yet, there's plenty of times that D.Va will just give someone with room to spare, right? So even with the damage nerf, it's not going to stop your really, really mechanically gifted D.Vas like a Cool Mat from getting in and killing 2 dudes. It's still going to be very good for those D.Vas. So I just think it raises the skill ceiling a little bit more. It reins her in just a bit. Seems like a fine nerf.
I still feel like we have an issue, or at least, the part of the equation of when to nerf somebody is when the pick rate is so high, right? And D.Va's pick rate has been almost 100% for how long now?
Yeah.
And that's just going to continue. I don't think this stops it. At least at the
personally,
pro level.
I do think one way I would nerf D.Va, if you think about where the areas where she got overbuffed, is that maybe this will be enough. But if she's still constantly picked, I would probably just nerf D.Va self-destruct. The reason being is that there's plenty of heroes in the game where they have their hero power balanced either more towards ultimate or more towards just mechanical power without ult. Like a hero like McCree, for example, right? He's not getting a lot of his power off Deadeye, even though sometimes it can be effective. It's more his general kit that makes him worthwhile. D.Va could still be a very effective hero if self-destruct wasn't as good as it is right now. Like, I think you can go back and make the argument that the original change way back when that made the self-destruct go from 4 seconds to 3 seconds might have been a little bit over the top. Like, make self-destruct something that isn't going to reliably get kills to the degree it does now. And that probably makes D.Va more of an option select than what you currently have.
I think it's just like you could just nerf the ultimate charge rate as well. Because after D.Va got the damage buffs, like after the Matrix rework, she got the missiles and stuff. I think she just like charges the ultimate a bit too fast because she's doing so much more damage than before.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be pretty bummed if they took away. I mean, the self-destruct is such a, I don't know. I feel like from the standpoint of strategies and just huge tension plays, the self-destruct just has a lot of implication on battles, and requires such great play to even just avoid certain kills, or jumping on the payload right when you're at the end of a like a point. It's, I don't know, it's a focus point of a lot of amazing moments in games right now. So I'd hate for that to change.
Well, sure, but I mean, again, it's just the issue that you have a hero where like both her ult and her mechanical stuff aside are both really, really strong. And I mean, Winston to a degree has the same thing, and it didn't always used to be the case. Part of the reason why Winston has done better over time as well is that people did not use Primal Rage anywhere near as well as early as about a year ago. People have leveled up fairly dramatically and getting just far more consistent value and getting pickoffs and riding it to the edge pretty reliably. And again, not every hero has a great ultimate to back things up to that degree. And when you have a hero that has great mechanics and a great ultimate, it's usually those heroes are the ones that are at the highest of pick rates right now.
One thing I was going to ask you, Fragi, because you mentioned, one of the things that you improved was your, your Winston ult, just mechanics. Like, what were those things? Like, what's, with Rage? Yeah.
So it's mostly about juggling. So that there's like a lot of small nuances to how you juggle people when you start swing, like where do you leap and how do you like target your swings? How do you, and there's like you need to like turn your model a bit, so there's like wider swing and stuff like that. So you can direct swings a certain way, and also like not only the like juggling, but also when to jump back, and not like when you need to realize when you are gonna take a lot of burst damage, so it's like not go in at that moment and wait for like the current like proper opportunity to go in, stuff like that.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, so anyways, continue on with PTR. May Endoblaster now pierces through enemies, so like a bunch of fat tanks all on top of each other. It goes through it all now.
Yeah, could be good in like choke points, like King's Throw against tanks for sure.
Yeah,
it's actually kind of interesting because to a degree would help in chasing down a hero that's mid-dive, but it would also, I wonder if that's going to be more of a deterrent to things like Slamdulance comps on first point, right? Where if you run a bunch of like really thick bodies into a May in a choke point now, she could conceivably just freeze your tanks wholesale if you went for that strategy, where, I mean, that's neither good nor bad as far as I'm concerned. I don't think quad tank is overpowering to a degree that's a really huge factor, and every now and then it's fun to see it come up as a swap up, but seeing something come out that's actually like uniquely stronger against it versus just general outplay would be kind of interesting.
I'm waiting for the lined up headshots, dude. That's what I'm waiting for. Freeze fort, line them up, and kill them all at once. That'd be pretty sweet. Okay, Reaper, Death Blossom, reloads Hellfire shotguns after use. Okay, that's kind of a nice thing, quality life thing. Wraith form though, move speed bonus increased from 25% to 50%. And you can now cancel the ability by pressing shift or primary fire. And
so
that's a big one.
Yeah, that's the biggest one.
By far the biggest, most impactful balance change.
So like I was like for a long time I was like wondering if it's like too big of a buff if they did this, that they can cancel the Wraith form instantly. And I feel like maybe with the speed chains it might like just become too strong. I feel like it can be quite. It could be quite like oppressive to play against the Reaper now with like a 10 or something. The Reaper just like shifts next to you, cancels straight from, and he's heads with you. I don't know.
Well, part of the reason why I think it's good for the game is that if it makes Reaper better, Reaper being better inherently is going to make McCree better. Because McCree is one of the heroes that has a very good matchup against Reaper to begin with, where Reaper has to respect flashbang pretty heavily. He has to respect the damage that McCree puts out at the mid-range. So if people start running more Reaper, you're going to be seeing more McCree. And if you're seeing more Reaper and McCree, you're seeing less Tracer and Genji and every other game. So in the name of hero diversity, this is a fairly positive development.
Yeah, Reaper don't play that much, and Reaper is really good against Winston, so maybe it's like an indirect Winston nerf as well.
Yeah.
With Brigitte coming up later as well.
Oh yeah, with Brigitte coming in, it's going to be, all right, Winston leaps in, whip shot it to the ground. Winston tries to go forward normally, Reaper in the back.
Yeah. Brigitte is like a right-hand.
Great.
It's like a right-hand counter as well, though, because her shield charge like goes to the shield, so it's pretty. It like changes style. You can play right-hand like totally if you're playing as Brigitte.
What is your take on Brigitte, by the way? Do you think the teams will run her as one of two supports, or are you on board the idea that a lot of people have suggested where you use Brigitte in a 3-support setup?
I feel like it's gonna be more in the 3 supports category. I feel like she should be played more like a semi DPS role. You just kind of go ham, stun people, play with your just go ham with your flail. I think that's the style you want to play her with.
Better on defense or offense? What do you think?
I mean, whichever. As long as there's it's like a brawl that's going on. Like obviously she's not gonna be good against like long range comps, like against Widow, Pharah, Zenyatta. That's far away. It's not gonna be that useful, but it's like a strong brawl with like Lucio, let's say Lucio Moira, like a Brigitte comp, and just like running enemies. Should be pretty good.
Okay, yeah, can't wait to see some more of those flailing. What does she officially have? What's her weapon actually called? It's not a whip, but it's like a mini hammer, I think, or
it's a flail. No,
it's a flail.
Morning
Okay,
Star?
is it just
Flail?
a flail? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a flail. That makes sense. Yeah, that's gonna be fun to watch. Let's see the rest of the changes here. I don't think they're quite as big. Just more of like transparency. Just more of just the looks of some of her ability.
Zenyatta.
Yeah, Zenyatta. Zenyatta's Orb of Destruction. Secondary fire rate reduced by 15%. So
That's like just a small nerf, just to make the Zenyatta players know that they're super OP right now.
Yeah.
Because it's coming from them later on. Even
Yeah,
harder.
I mean, I think the goal there is that not really to reduce his damage against bigger targets or his overall damage output, but to make it less likely that you get bursted in such a degree that he's almost acting like a Lotto Widowmaker in the back at points. So the idea of a Zen getting pickoffs early on in the fight probably won't happen as much, which is unfortunate for, say, Zens like Boombox or Jonak that have been really effective in getting early pickoffs as a general rule. But it's also probably healthier for the game that Zenyatta is not just randomly picking people off early on in team fights just on a consistency basis alone.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it's gonna totally stop it, but it's gonna like maybe prevent some of the unfortunate deaths that are happening right now.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's gonna be right now. You can go in PTR, try it out, try these different changes out, and we should be seeing it really, really soon on the production. Another bit of news. So Uprising Event was announced, I think today, actually, and at least some little tweet that had a little hint of when it was going to be, and it's going to actually be on April 10th. It's going to be coming out. So kind of excited about that. Uprising was probably my favorite event last year, with the PvE being pretty fun. So hoping it's as challenging as it was last year.
Yeah, I didn't play it too much myself. It was the robot thing, right?
Yeah.
Intro.
Yeah.
I didn't play it too much myself, but I really like the PvE events. I feel like we have to go like really ham with the PvE stuff and make Overwatch even more popular. Like if it was even more content in PvE.
Yeah, hopefully. I kind of hope it's not like just Junkenstein, where they just literally added a little bit to the same exact stage or whatever. So I'm hoping for something different here. Not
By
just
the nature of it, where they're calling it the Archives event, it seems like they want to go through like major events in Overwatch lore. So to go through the same event again would be kind of a letdown.
Oh. Definitely, that's going to be fun. Get some new loot boxes, and obviously some skins accompanied with it. There weren't too many with it last year. I just remember the event being it was like you just carried the event anyway. So we'll see what they have this year. But another bit of news: World Cup returns in August. So hype for that. Team Finland, you guys gonna live up to expectations this year, man? I always have you guys
Man,
like high up,
yeah.
and then it's just like, oh man, come on, Finland didn't quite live up to it. So this year, it's gonna be a big year for
Yeah,
Finland.
yeah, this year for sure. I think
Okay.
we're gonna probably have a really similar team than last year. Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh wait, we had like what was last year's team? We had Taimo,
Mhm.
Linkster, Meetup is Kuno Tup, I think.
Yep. I mean, it's stacked.
Yeah.
It's like
Yep.
crazy good.
But like this year, I think it's probably gonna be better for us.
Okay.
With we got Piku Chess from Gladiators,
Mhm.
of course.
Yeah.
Me, Tuppis, Linkster, I guess Taimo with Linkster and CPS,
Mhm.
or even some of the contenders guys. It's gonna be really strong for us. I think
Wait,
the player
isn't
limit was like
Devin
seven
finished
this
as
year.
well, or am I crazy?
Yeah, he was in Gigantia. Yeah,
Mhm.
coming on. So we will
That's
probably have
sick.
him in.
That's a pretty
Maybe.
sick team, dude. So
But I think the player limit is like 7 this year for like the live events. But in total, it's like even 12 players. But you can only send 7 players to the play
Oh.
or like the
okay.
live event.
So
Okay.
let me ask you this, Fragi. You've seen the destinations of where you could go. Where would you want to most be playing as Team Finland of the 4 different destinations?
So it was USA, France, South Korea, and Thailand.
Thailand, yeah.
Oh man, when is the? It's in. Wait, it's in August. Like the group stages. Yeah.
Group stages,
Yep.
yeah.
So maybe like
August,
summertime France would be pretty nice. Is
Cairns,
it Europe again?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Europe would be nice.
Yeah, that's cool. It's definitely gonna be some good traveling around. It's gonna be great. So just to remind folks, we have this period that's like right now where you have to qualify as a country, and that really depends on your top players and how they finish on the ladder. And then after that, the committees are created, and this caused a little bit of controversy last year. So it's kind of interesting how they choose the committee this year, because the committee is who ends up choosing the players. There's a player tryout period. What is that?
Well, the player tryout period, I think it's just making sure that there actually is a tryout period, because there were some teams in the last World Cup stage where there wasn't even a tryout situation, where I think the general rule here is that Blizzard has learned enough from the previous 2 World Cups as to what works and what doesn't. And now you have a situation where they're going to handpick basically someone that they will trust with an entire country in cases where it's applicable. So a lot of your bigger countries, there are pretty clear candidates that would be able to handle that responsibility. But part of the responsibility put on them is going to be, look, we do expect you to run tryouts and not just pick a team of friends, or, you need to have some objective data to back things up to a degree, which I think is good for what's going on here, where you don't want too much bias. You want someone that's good, put together a good team, but on the same note, you want to make it fair to a degree for players in a country that do have a chance. So just, I think standardizing the process a little bit is probably best for all involved.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see like who's gonna be joined from Finland as the general manager. Not sure.
What was that?
Like the general manager for each team.
Oh, general manager. Oh, yeah.
By Blizzard.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
So I'm not sure who's gonna be for Finland.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're here. You're
Yeah.
here. I hear you.
I don't know. When did I cut out when I was talking about things?
I think
you were
you
talking
did,
about
Dora.
tryouts. You were talking about tryouts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the general managers will be selected by Blizzard, which will be
Yeah.
definitely interesting. I think last year, there's some spots that were a little bit debatable, but in the end, I think everything ended up working out fine. So yeah, I mean the time frame for the World Cup is going to work out pretty well. So we'll have like the end of Overwatch League, then we'll probably have, I don't know what, like a month, or probably like roughly a month, and then all of a sudden this will start up, and then we'll have it all the way up to BlizzCon. So definitely was a highlight of BlizzCon last year or this past year, and hopefully it'll be the same this year. Super hyped about this. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I don't see World Cup going anywhere now and into the future. I mean, the main thing is that BlizzCon should have a premier event for every major Blizzard game.
Yep.
And because OWL is a thing, you can't put a normal major Overwatch championship at BlizzCon. It would just, it wouldn't have the same appeal. It'd be like, oh, well, this is just like an OWL consolation match, or, even putting contenders finals there. I mean, it would be cool, but it wouldn't be quite as special. Whereas the World Cup is sort of in its own sphere, where it's country v country. It's definitely its own unique, cool thing. And I think it fits out really well with the overall Overwatch competitive space, and it just makes sense for BlizzCon, really.
No, it's good. A lot of the Blizzard titles are going away from having championships at BlizzCon, and I don't know, it just doesn't feel good when that happens. BlizzCon was always the culmination of all the Blizzard titles and their year championship. So it's good to have the World Cup, which is a big deal in our community, still there, and like I said last year, it was more hype than everything else. So I think being in the arena definitely helped out, but a lot of the matches themselves I think played out really, really well too. Anyways,
yeah,
this will be great
for sure.
Yeah,
I just hope I will make it there this year.
What was that? Well, actually, I think something's kind of happening on my end here. Okay, you guys there?
Hello?
Okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, it got a little bit robot-y there because I think my machine went a little bit thrashed a little bit there. Okay, well, let's see. Another bit of news. We got a bunch of player news and things like that. And again, it's been a couple weeks now, so we got a few of them, built or at least stacked up here. So Bishop and London parted ways. That was a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago. So I don't know if that was a surprise to anybody, but that's kind of Bishop's second team now, or at least second pretty high profile team. I guess he was with Cloud9 originally, so it's kind of
he was still within the Cloud9.
I guess he was still within there. Yeah. So now,
I will say, I mean, I can't judge where Bishop's performance was as a coach overall. I will just say that I don't think it was a huge surprise to people in the scene. There's kind of rumors that it might happen, and then when it happened, it was okay, people heard about it. So it not really reflecting on his coaching ability one way or another, but it was definitely something people in the scene kind of knew might be happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't really know him personally. Mm-hmm. It seems like a nice guy every time we met, but it's kind of tough to say what's going on inside any given team. So I guess that things weren't working out for them with the coach and players. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he gets picked up soon or not. Given that how much experience he's had. So I mean, that's going with him. If nobody picks him up, I don't know. That's kind of telling, at least what people's perception of him is. So hopefully he does land somewhere good, and that'd be nice. Next bit of news, we got Moth and Architect joining the Shock. So San Francisco's getting a bunch of different upgrades, at least in the last 3 weeks. Obviously Sinatra, everybody's talking about Sinatra, obviously finally joining, and then now we see these two.
That's so personal.
Yep. And what do you think about Moth and Architect?
So, they definitely seem a lot better with Moth at least in the roster, playing sport with Sleepy. Mm-hmm. I don't really have much experience watching Architect or anything, but I heard he's really good. So it's probably a good chance for them. I think they lack a really good projectile specialist in the team, so it should be a good pickup for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell right now. I've sort of learned to rein in initial impressions on players as they head in OWL, because OWL just feels like a different beast entirely. Not just because it's a higher level play, but some players seemingly rise to the occasion when moving in. Other players do not. I mean, on face value, a player like Architect could be a very big upgrade for the Shock, but it's sort of, okay, let's see how he actually plays week one, and then I will attune my opinions accordingly going in. Just because even situations like, for example, Flower playing on XL2, that's at the contenders level, right? Mm-hmm. And his debut was not anywhere near as good as people, including myself, expected. So when you haven't seen people play as much recently and you're sort of wondering how they're going to do in a new team environment, it's actually fairly hard to predict, even in cases like, say, Flowers, which was seemingly as sure of a bet as you could get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell how certain players will fit together, how any player goes into any team. Maybe the team is totally different from what he's used to playing with. Maybe the players see the game totally different than him. So it might take some time at least to adjust to the new players to get back to the same level he has shown before.
Yeah,
I will say, and I mean, granted, this might be changed up by Super coming on board, etc. Is that I think Shock has historically had issues in tank play. So, and there have been very good tanks available to supplement, but obviously they had Super weighing the wings. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see where things go there. I do think that it's weird that no OWL team in general has picked up Panker with how absurd that guy's been playing on the contenders level.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of tank, so we actually had a tank picked up by the LA Gladiators. So Void, that was the sub tank actually for Kung Fu Panthera, is now joining the Gladiators. So yeah, what do you guys think of this pickup? Because is he going to be who's he going to be replacing here? Like, I mean, they
Fisher.
obviously just got Fisher, so yeah, I guess they haven't been happy with Fisher.
Well, it's also weird to me again because within the same organization you also have Panker, who, again, I don't fanboy over players in the sense of just like hyping them up repeatedly. Like, a player really has to be above reproach, and what we've seen from Panker so far, not just the contenders, but if anyone's been paying attention to the scrims and stuff leading into it, you would think that you would pick him up for that, particularly in the Gladiators case, where the Gladiators actually bought out Panker's contract from Toronto for contenders specifically to bring Panker in for a pretty sizable amount, but they don't have enough faith in him to bring him to OWL. It's actually really weird.
Yeah.
I mean, they already have Fisher. I don't think they have a problem with Fisher, but I guess what it's like going to replace Bishu at Southern Heroes at least.
Oh, you're talking about
It's,
Bishu. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I thought you said Fisher at first. I was like, what?
No,
you said Bishu.
Yeah.
Okay, Bishu. Yeah, that makes sense. They definitely could.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it's gonna work out. Like, I feel like it could be tough for the team when if you're gonna have Fisher, Void, and like Aster, 3 Koreans with 3 Westerners. I feel like the communication might be pretty tough because, well, from what I heard right now, Fisher is like translating a lot of the strategy that Fisher is like trying to do to the other teammates in English. So I feel like the team dynamics could change a lot, and that's not always a good thing.
Yeah, communication, man. That seems to be the core of every team, either doing better or worse. You know, like they're doing better because the communication's obviously like been fixed for whatever reason, and they usually get worse whenever something new is introduced.
Well, don't forget, in terms of communication, the trade rumors that Slasher put out there, the idea that
That's what I was going to bring up next. That's what I was going to bring up next here.
All right, I didn't know if you were going to touch that because technically that's not confirmed or anything yet.
Yeah, it's not confirmed. It's like, so rumor, guys, not confirmed. So rumor is that there's some trade talks, and you can make your judgment as to how far they are or not. They're going on between Valiant and the Dallas Fuel, and so that's kind of obviously brought up a lot of discussion, be given that some high profile players, some names like Unco and Custa, and this initial report was talking about even like Tracer players. So at this point, something's going on, I think, internally with some of these players on their teams, and I think like swapping them, I think is going to maybe help with a lot of what's going on internally. Because like if you just look at, Custa, I felt like has been fine from a gameplay standpoint, right? I think he seemed kind of fine from what I've seen. And so, was this a surprise to you guys, or have you just maybe heard some rumors about this before?
I guess I go first. I don't think it makes much sense for at least Dallas. From what I heard, I think the Valiant camp has had some disagreements between players, so I think that's why it's happening from their side.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure from Dallas side how it's gonna work out from like switching Custa to Unco. I don't think Unco is. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's gonna like fit in well in the current Dallas situation or not.
Well, what I would say there is that, and I'll word this carefully because I don't want to like paint anything in a negative light, but generally speaking, some of the more well-known French players in the community are very, very strong personalities that can sort of, like, their general MO is that they do dominate the personality of a team to a degree, right? And what I would worry about in that sort of trade is that you're taking a person like Custa who's generally like very upbeat, very moldable, etc. You're throwing him to Valiant. And even if you're going to say that Unco is better on mechanical level than Custa, which would probably be Fuel's reasoning if they were going for that trade, I feel like you are introducing.
Rip.
Rip. Introducing. Okay. Well, I think ZP's having some internet issues.
I think
when Fuel.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
we lost you like halfway through there. Yeah.
Halfway through.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, finish up by saying, because I don't know where it sounds, that I think that Fuel, to a degree, has had an overflow of very strong personalities. So even if Unco, you want to say he's mechanically better than Custa, moving him into the fuel situation where he's yet another super strong personality is sort of, I don't know if it's the right timing for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of agree with that, but it looks like I mean, from what it sounds like, at least it's at least gotten to a point where it could very well happen. I think this is probably more than just a rumor, but we'll see if it actually gets finalized and whatnot. But speaking of Dallas, might as well just bring up some of the just other stuff. I feel like Dallas clearly is like the team to just hate and bash on and do like the media and just like even their own fans sometimes, man. It's just for some reason it just makes it feel good to just bash on their team.
Well, the thing is that Dallas was winning in the war of negative PR, but I'm not even sure they're winning that since the In-N-Out incident. So what does Dallas feel really winning right now?
Oh my God.
Like, I'm just saying, they're not even winning that. Like,
right.
Valiant jumped to the top of the charts where they have actually created a brand new meme of, oh, that player's doing bad. Better take him to In-N-Out.
Right. Well, since the last time we did the show, XQC stepped down, so we were kind of like talking about all that drama, like leading up to that. But I think that, finally, we kind of see at least that situation resolved a bit, and I think it's for the best. I think it's actually for the best for both parties, and we talked about it before on the show where I just didn't think it was a good fit. And I still stick with it. I don't think it's a good fit for XQC to even be in the league. Like, I think he's just better suited to be more of an entertainer, and he's got that competitive, ness in him. So that's the part that he'll probably have to figure out, like, just what's going to make him happy. But
let me ask you this, though, and I'm going into conspiracy theory land here, but I do think this is going to be a thing. Is it good for Blizzard in the long term that XQC is not in the league? Now, come with me on my journey as I explain where I'm going with this, is that XQC is still, I think, to my knowledge, in LA. He still holds very close
still lives
relationship.
right next to them all. Yeah.
Let me finish my story because there's a very salient point here.
Okay.
He is next to all sorts of OWL players that are privileged to a lot of confidential information of all sorts, whether it be team trading, whatever. Like, there's many different avenues of like secret info. XQC no longer has anything over his head that will prevent him from leaking like crazy to one of the biggest streams in Overwatch. Like, there's no way you can control him at this point.
That's going to be the players' fault that tell him. So it's
okay, but
it's
players
on the
leak
onus of the
stuff.
players.
And XQC has connections to enough people that they are going to tell him things. So, like, now that XQC isn't in OWL, he is literally going to be the dude that leaks everything because he has no reason not to.
I think he's been pretty careful with that because I'm not sure if he's like totally decided on whether he wants to pursue like a Overwatch League career again or not. Like, if he leaks stuff now, it's not going to look good to his like future teams, or he sends like to make another team in the future.
Yeah, he's still deciding. I know he is. It's just, I don't know. For me, I just think that it's just a mismatch in my mind. Just having him in there, and he's playing good. I mean, skill wise, he definitely he could play in the league. It's just, it's not the skill that's the problem. It's just, he's kind of a free spirit kind of guy, and like, you can't really work in an environment like Overwatch League and have that type of like ability to do that. So we'll see what he ends up deciding. But at the very least, for Dallas, they don't have to deal with it anymore. At least, a lot of the drama that surrounded XQC. So now, you actually see Seagull playing D.Va now, which, he definitely got a lot of praise for his D.Va. And then Taimu back to DPS too, right? So we're seeing like a lot of switches here. Dallas did look pretty good, in the last, I would say, the week of the season, at least better than they have been looking.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas looks good enough to break your heart, and then they still lose the game.
Exactly. Right.
I think a lot of things can work out in the short term, but I think the long term is like what's kind of scary. Like, you practice day in, day out, and when things don't go right for like a week or so, then there's gonna be like a
shake up,
shake up, loss of confidence, and things are not gonna maybe work out. I feel like the last week performance might have been like a fluke. Like, they did try stuff out and it happened to work out. It was like a change for the players that were like feeling kind of bad about the situation, and suddenly it like worked out kind of all right.
Yeah.
So of course people will have more self-confidence and they will play better. So that was a good thing for them for sure.
Okay. Well, we're gonna continue talking about some OWL here, but we definitely want to give a shout out to our sponsor tonight, ZipRecruiter. And if you're not familiar with ZipRecruiter, if you're not familiar with them, they are a jobs website that it's like awesome because they aggregate from a lot of other job sites so that you can just go to one place, ZipRecruiter, and you can see just a ton of candidates from a lot of different sites, or you can post in one spot and it posts to all these other sites. So I've used it like once, and for sure it's been a great way to really throw out a big net if you're looking for somebody to hire. And 80% of employers who actually post on ZipRecruiters actually get quality candidates from it. So if you want to choose, a job site, the right candidate for you is going to be ZipRecruiter. And if you are listening to the show, of course, you can actually use ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/overview and just signing up. So yeah, definitely check it out. They're a great option for folks looking for people to hire. Okay, in terms of, let's see, stage 2, just more stage 2 stuff. Why don't we talk about just I guess NYXL, like what'd you guys think of NYXL? Like obviously they came up a little short in stage 1. This time they were able to finally, like a lot of those players finally getting some title, right? No, Fragi, this is like piercing Fragi's heart here. I know, just like stabbing him in the back here. No, but yeah, overall, how do you think NYXL looked? I mean, do you think that they're playing at pretty much the level that everybody expected them to play? Yet they're still within striking distance. Clearly, they're within striking distance, given that Fragi, you guys were just so close to beating them. Thoughts on just NYXL right now?
Yeah, I guess JP is gone. I'll go ahead.
Yeah, he's
at least so yeah, New York is a pretty good team. I think in stage 2, they weren't like that much stronger than other teams, because I feel like the meta chanting was really good for them.
Yeah.
For Jonak, because Jonak is such a strong player, so they just like forget their Chen and went ham. I feel like with the Lucia Chen meta, they weren't as strong, but of course they're like still really strong team and probably the best in the league. But they're definitely like beatable, and I think we could have definitely done it on Sunday, but it wasn't meant to be this time.
I mean, do you think they were having do you think they were playing at like their normal level that, like on that Sunday? You think they were playing a little below or anything like that? Or like, I'm just kind of curious as to like what we saw on Sunday was like, that was their A game and you guys almost beat them.
I think they were playing their normal game. In the first 2 maps, they played some unconventional combos.
yeah.
Maybe didn't work out for them too well.
Yeah.
And that's why we got easy wins from both maps. I think, but yeah, probably like the last 3 maps were more of a proper image of their actual level, especially like Hollywood and Gibraltar were like the actually maps where both teams kind of played well, and it was like how the match should have looked, I think, in all of the maps.
Okay, yeah, I mean, they definitely, the thing about, I feel like with New York is that they have like certain players. I mean, they can't necessarily make plays the entire game, like Sebi Olby and but it's just like whenever they need plays, I feel like Sebi Olby makes huge plays, Jonak makes huge plays. Like obviously Arc is just an amazing player too, but they do a good job of kind of distributing, like these crazy amazing plays, and they end up, leading to these map victories.
Well, you hit on a key point there. Am I back now, by the way?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, I'm back. One key point you hit on there is that I tend to sometimes view Overwatch as more of a numbers game, where it's like in any given fight, any player has an X% chance of doing something above the norm to win you a fight and let things go over the top. And when you can get that from almost every position, you have a huge edge over the course of a map compared to the average team. And I think that's where credit does have to go to a player like Jonak, right? Where not every support player in the league.
Man, that Wi-Fi internet or whatever he's using tonight is just not good. But
I think we got the point there.
Yeah, I think I got the point.
Doing a lot of fights for free off Zenyatta, and you think about the impact on the game on that, right?
Yeah.
If your Zen picks someone off early on, That means that you can sometimes take the fight without investing anything. That means that in the War of Ult economy, you just saved 3 ultimates. 3 ultimates that, by the way, weren't even guaranteed to give you first pick or team fight win in many cases. So the more you can get unexpected benefit from your team, particularly from tanks and supports and early pickoffs, surprising kills, etc., the more fights you're going to win, the more ultimates you get to save. And all of that snowballs pretty heavily over the course of a map of Overwatch.
Yeah, so I guess would you say that the biggest relative difference then is Jonak? I mean, just at that spot, whoever's got that kind of Zenyatta that, I mean, he's at this point, I feel like from a offensive Zenyatta, he kind of transcended just the actual, hero and role at this point. Is he the main reason then, like at least from a differential standpoint?
I mean, he's one of the main differentiators for sure. I mean, what I would point to is, and granted, Boombox is still very good, don't get me wrong, but
Boombox is good.
If you think to the failing E-United core, right, back when E-United was still running crap like triple DPS and winning games, before they began their huge loss streak, a huge reason why they're doing that is that Boombox at the time was just completely outperforming just about every other Zen in the region by a pretty wide margin. Like, people had not adapted to the idea that a Zen could blow someone up from afar. And United was able to mask the fact that they literally did not have anyone that could play flex tank in any form of competent fashion. One of the most important roles in the game. Why were they able to do that? Because Boombox is getting early pickoffs, and so is Volatalia.
Yep.
As soon as Volatalia returned to a more normal performance and teams adapt around Boombox, United basically lost every single game. So, yeah, there's a rather sizable difference when you can have a support that can offer that level of contribution.
Yeah, I think Zenyatta is definitely, probably Tracer, like Tracer pulse bombs and Tracer gameplay in general, like Zenyatta is the biggest like cause of unfair fights in Overwatch, like where you just win a fight for free and okay, you just save your all limits and then anything gets shielded and stuff, you just win the fight for free. That's like really important, especially like in playoffs games. If you get free maps, free fight wins, whatever. I think in general, New York is just like overall a really solid team, and then they have like those really good performances from like Jonak, say by LB, and people like that. Like in top of being a really solid team, they still have those like difference makers in the games.
Yeah, and you bring up another interesting point there. You mentioned Sabiel B, is that you also have the entire idea that there's certain areas in Overwatch where you need to at least hold serve on, if not overpower the other team on if possible. And one of those areas that's super important is your Tracer play, right? And you see that to a degree in Houston, where Houston can't.
God. All right, wait for it. He's going to be back. So
is a limiting factor on teams, but it's not a limiting factor for NYXL.
We lost you there for a second. You were saying something about Houston.
No. Okay, so I was just saying, like, another, like, Fragi touched on an important part there. He mentioned Sabiel B, just because I think another key factor to a team just doing well in Overwatch is that you can't get overpowered in the Tracer position, right? We see what happens to a team where you have a team like Houston that has a phenomenal front tank line, one of the best coaches in the league, but they have to play around the fact that they have a weaker Tracer option than normal. Like, that's just, it's fact at this point. They do not have a Tracer on the level of Sabiel B.
They'll never admit it, though. They'll never.
No, the team admits it.
Okay, well, some people.
Like, Jake literally admitted it in an interview. He's playing Tracer, so yes, they do admit it.
Yes, okay, Jake. Sure. Jake definitely has said that. Yeah. So I mean, definitely good points, and one of the reasons why I think we see both of these teams, Philly and New York at the end being so strong, just at those two positions, right? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, like, if New York can get any better. I mean, I feel like for 2 stages now, they've kind of, or at least with the second stage, now that they've won, it's definitely harder, I think, to stay on top, and really not just rest on your laurels when you're as good as they are. So we'll have to see. Sabiel B, like, celebrated by getting a chance to throw out a first pitch at a Mets game. I mean, granted, it's preseason, but that's still pretty cool, man. Still a little bit of crossover from Overwatch into MLB. That's pretty sweet. Maybe we'll see some more of that. Maybe you'll be throwing out like a Phillies, like a first pitch at a Phillies game, man. That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, I don't think we're like affiliated with Phillies too much.
Okay, maybe you can hockey. Maybe you can shoot one of those halftime shots.
Let's just be clear. It is cool they got to throw out the first pitch, but it is literally the Mets ownership that owns the NYXL. They have a vested interest in promoting him. So, I mean, look, it is cool, but it's also not like a different org said, oh my God, we need to recognize Samuel B. It's the Mets ownership going, we should promote Samuel B because we own him. Like,
I know that. Gosh, come on. Of course. It's still cool, regardless of the reason why.
It's cool.
Okay,
I'm not from NA. I still know it's cool.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing too is we've been talking about Sundays, and this was the first stage that we actually had a championship Sunday instead of this incredibly long Saturday that was like crazy on stage 1. So I think that was awesome idea. I think everybody's happy that they moved it to Sunday. Players, obviously players were probably the most happy. Can you imagine playing on Saturday, like everything on Saturday?
I don't know how London did it in stage 1.
Yeah, like Houston had to do that, right? It's kind of crazy.
Like London was the like they played like one match and they're like regular season match, and they played semifinals.
Oh yeah,
finals,
right. Yeah, London
won the whole thing.
Yeah. So
3 matches in a row.
Yeah, thankfully they didn't have to do that. You guys were, basically 100% on that Sunday, and just gave us an even longer weekend, which is really, really nice. So keep doing that, Overwatch League, because it was definitely a great idea.
I think they're like they might like do some other stuff as well that makes the playoffs even better in the future.
Yeah. Let's see. Kind of wrap up stage 2. Let's see. Any other things? The Mayhem. I think I guess let's talk about teams that showed improvement, teams that kind of disappointed. So teams that showed improvement, Mayhem definitely. I think they were able to win like a few more games here, and then they actually had a nice win, a pretty big win, just during that. So we've been definitely hard on them, just throughout just Overwatch League so far. But clearly they figured something out, because they are playing miles better than they were early on. I mean, I threw a viewing party when you 4-0'd them, like the first time, like you guys played them, right? So it was pretty brutal to watch that. But ever since, kind of midway through, I mean, they're a completely different team.
Yeah, definitely. I'll go first. I think they've had the confidence. Yeah, I think they've had their confidence and their stride. They have some really nice guys in the team, especially Mineral. He's a very handsome guy. He's not in the chat, by the way. But yeah, I think it's mostly like confidence thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they still have the same players. Especially like Logix is doing a lot better now than before, and that's like really about factor. They probably found like a style that suits them a bit better. I feel like they were a bit lost during stage 1 and like early stage 2, but now they found a style that suits them a bit better, and it's doing good for them.
So the problem with this though is that so late in the season that we have kind of hit the point where some teams just mathematically they might not be eliminated mathematically, but in actuality, the likelihood of coming back in and getting a top 6 spot for the playoffs is just about gone. And Mayhem, they're in that territory right now where they would have to start beating the very best teams in the league on a regular basis throughout stage 3 and stage 4 to even have a chance of finishing top 6. Like, that's how far behind them. They're 8 games back from the number 6 spot.
Yeah.
And it's not super likely that they're going to be able to bring it back at this point. And same for Fuel. Like, Fuel, even if they turned it around, the odds that they get a top 6 spot now are pretty grim. Like, I would say overall in the playoff race, generally speaking, it probably stops at LA Gladiators. There is a small chance that the Shock could maybe eke their way in, but they would have to play out of their minds to a degree that I don't think it's really possible. So the only thing that's up in the air for playoffs right now, if you like league playoffs, not stage playoffs, is sort of what happens between Outlaws, Uprising, Valiant, and Gladiators. Yeah, is how I'm looking at it. And granted, Philly could also drop down as well. Fragi, stay on your toes. You are not immune to that. Anyone in the teams I just mentioned could easily catch. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the unfortunate part about the teams that had a very rough stage 1, stage 2 is that they've kind of almost past the point of no return.
Yeah, it's a bit of like as talked before, the parity is so strong right now. All teams are like stepping up. So I feel like if you are so many games down right now, it's gonna be really tough to like it's
Flip
for
it,
two stages
exactly.
to like win every game against all these good teams. It's gonna be so tough.
Yeah.
To come back.
But I still think it's important. I mean, it's still important for those teams to still do well the rest of the way. And, you know, like the whole point is like we want to build, you know, like fan bases, right? And, you know, definitely winning is going to help build fan bases more so than losing. And, you know, one thing that Florida showed is that at least at the end of the stage 2, they look like they'd belong in, you know, kind of that maybe middle bottom of the league right now. You know, just the teams that they beat, like the Shock and Valiant, and, you know, almost beat the Outlaws. So, you know, that is miles from where they were in stage 1, which were literally the second worst team. And they beat the Shanghai Dragons. If it wasn't for that, you know, they would be definitely at the bottom. So, you know, I'm glad they figured it out. Apparently, it had a lot to do with just the difference between practice and on stage. You know, like there was some kind of disconnect that, you know, they just were not communicating and playing at the same kind of level. So there
is one interesting story, by the way, if you look at the divisions, how they're set up, which I don't think anyone's really talked about, but obviously the divisions were somewhat set up in a random fashion, right? Between the Atlantic Division, Pacific Division. If you look at the top teams in the league, there's a huge disparity between the two, where the Atlantic Division is basically taking up most of the top spots right now.
Atlantic, let's go.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I guess
the only team in the Pacific Division that is in the top 6 is Seoul.
Yeah, way on the other side of the Pacific. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. So clearly, the All-Star team would be a crushing for the Atlantic team if we had the Atlantic versus Pacific All-Star team. Which, are we going to do that? Is there going to be an All-Star team?
I think there's some All-Star thing.
Yeah, something, right? Yeah. Okay, so that'll be pretty interesting. All right, so we got the Mayhem on one side. Who's the big disappointment this stage?
Well, I think I would say one of the big disappointments is sort of what happened with Outlaws, right? Where Outlaws started out stage 1 a little bit shaky. They finished out really strong, and sort of like, all right, let's see what the Outlaws do in stage 2. They actually started out week 1 of stage 2 really good, and then they fell off a cliff. So people who are kind of expecting the Outlaws to take the crown, it didn't happen. They fell down to earth pretty harshly. They showed signs of life at the very end, but they're finishing number 5 when they actually had a chance to finish out number 1 in the stage. Like, there was a week where all they had to do was,
I remember that.
You know, win 2 games, including, of course, one of the games was against Philly. If they'd been Philly and then be in New York, they would have been number 1 overall in the league. So that was the situation they were in as early as week 2 of stage 2, and it just didn't pan out.
Is that a case of maps? You know, like you were talking a little bit about it, Fragi. Like a change in maps can like be night and day for teams.
I don't think it was map pull for Houston. Like, I don't know. Like, especially in Overwatch League, it's such a long season and the stress is so high.
Yeah.
And Overwatch is it's such a like a team-based game. So if any of the team members are like not, for some reason, like not feeling good, are in a bad mood, playing worse than usual, it affects the whole team, and it can easily like make teams like slump like this.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I just looked at the first week of stage 3 on a side note.
Let me see.
Do you guys know what stage 3 starts out with without looking at it immediately?
Oh, I think I remember. Oh God, it's some kind of crazy.
It's Dragon's Fuel, baby. Let's go.
Is it? Oh, okay. That's not what I was thinking it was. Where is it? That's
literally the first match on Wednesday,
week 1,
4 p.m.
Week 1. Oh,
it's Dragon's Fuel.
Oh, this is where I think it was Doa that was making this prediction that this would be the first win for Dragons.
It's kind of interesting, actually. Like, the schedule is, at least for us, it's almost the same as stage 3, or it's exactly the same.
Okay.
Yeah, like we play against same weeks.
You play Mayhem again.
Boston Mayhem first week.
Yeah.
Then we have like Houston and then the Koreans.
Yeah.
I mean, the only question is that do you load up confetti in the Blizzard Arena for the Dragons? Like, just when they get their first win, you just throw a celebration party. It's like the streak is finally over.
Dude. Just pile it on, Dallas, man. It's just like everybody. I don't know, man. I'm not sure who's gonna win this. I mean, one thing I do can't wait for is like I want to see Gagori play. Like that's gonna be a lot of fun seeing her actually get a chance to play Diva, and get a chance maybe even break out some Zarya. But her Diva's awesome, so I definitely would love to see that moment happen too in Overwatch League. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's just pick that. Who's gonna win? Dragons Fuel.
Fuel.
Okay. Fuel.
There's no reason to think that no reason to think that Dragons are going to win. I think it would be the most Fuel thing ever to lose to the Dragons right now, where that's just a point where you see Hastra walking over to a dumpster and just throwing in a match is like, all right, I'm done. But
I don't know, man. Just when you think
the Fuel,
when you think the Fuel's hit
able to win.
When you think the Fuel have hit rock bottom, they seem to figure out another bottom to hit. So we'll have to see. I mean, I'm going to pick Fuel too, but still.
It's like the Simpsons episode where Homer is in the stonecutters and he falls and it's like the 5th floor drop. It's like supposed to be a joke, and then he just continually falls through layers of the building that no one even knew existed.
Yeah. Well, one thing the Dragons have done right is like everybody loves the Dragons, man. They're probably the most loved 0 and 20 team I think I've ever seen in any sport.
Well,
so
the only way they wouldn't be loved as 0 and 20 is if they had a notable player on their team that was talking shit. People are going to root for the team that's getting its ass kicked. That's how sports works. Unless you have, a Manziel type character on the team, you're just like, no. Screw this team. Continue to lose. All
right, we're running out of time, so why don't we get to some of these Q&A questions, given that I know some of these folks ended up tweeting it. Let's get to some of these fun ones. So Lons Pons asks, Fragi, what do you feel are your main strengths as a tank? And what areas do you feel like you still need improvement in?
Oh, tough question. Okay. I think my strengths probably are my overall view of the game, like how the game should be played, or what's in general. I think I have very good sense for the game in general, like which ultimates should be used in fights, how we should approach some fights, what comms should we play, and stuff like that. I think that's my biggest strength probably. I still got some work to do with Winston, especially I feel like on some maps I'm doing really good already. For some maps I have more work to do and figure out how to play like first fights in sub-King of the Hill maps and stuff like that. But it's getting better all the time. But it's mostly about figuring more about Winston and when to engage, when to hide, and stuff like that.
Okay. Well, there goes ZP. We're going to get some Doomfist action again. CM Hornyak asks, Carpe looks so sad when you win. Is he not a fan of hugs? That's true.
Yeah, but Carpe, it's gonna. I think he's like so focused in the game.
Yeah.
So he's like still in the game mode when the game ends or something like that. I feel like he's probably like thinking about some game related stuff when the game is ending. But he usually like breaks out a smile when we like start going with the handshakes and like.
Yeah.
Fragi, you missed the point to meme here, which is like, wouldn't you be sad if you had to hold your breath for 2 hours while you wait to get back into water? Like, come on.
I'm not really on board with the Carpe fish memes.
The fish memes. Yeah.
I'm too old for that stuff.
Too old for that.
I'm pretty sure I'm older than you, but that might be just be speaking more about me than anything else.
Oh man. Okay. Let's see. Ferdika asks, how has Heidi's cooking affected your team? Do you think it gives Fusion an advantage over teams that don't think about food?
Most likely. I don't know like how healthy all that stuff is. I think she tries to keep it healthy most of the time. But I think it's like overall the like Fiddy Fusion organization like keeps really good care for us. Like we don't need to think about food at all. We have it ready always. It's really good food. And obviously like food is pretty important to humans in general. So if you get good food, you're gonna feel better, you're gonna play better. So it's definitely a good thing for us.
What's your favorite dish that she's made you?
She made some really good burritos one day, but probably like most of the meat she cooks is really good. Like what's it called? Like really soft, like brisk type of meat.
Brisket kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really good as well.
Okay. Yeah, man. Food, how you eat, man. That affects how you're like mentally thinking and stamina and things like that. It's like underrated for sure. All right, last
this is my love of food. My love of gluttony is just well known.
Yes,
if I were to stop by on a Monday before Contenders is over, would the Fusion Team House welcome me?
Most likely, I think.
Is there a place setting for ZP at that giant table in the background there?
There's usually extra food. So if like one person stops by, we probably have extra food.
All right.
Okay.
I might take you up on the forced invitation that I brought up myself.
He's just inviting himself over there. Jeez.
I'm inviting myself to your food.
Worst case scenario, we have some, like, I don't know, chips in the pantry or some snacks.
Worst case scenario, I get bounced out to the trails like food in treehouse. Go.
Oh man, that's brutal. All right, last question. Ant asks, what will it take for Ana to be in the meta again? Is Sombra still strong after her nerfs? Then we kind of answered the Sombra question, but
yeah,
what about Ana?
Sombra was answered. I guess for Ana, like the main problem with Ana is that Zen is so strong at the moment. So Zen is just OP. So Zen is always going to be played over Ana, pretty much. The only reason why Zen is not going to be played would be that Sombra would be OP and Zen would get EMP'd and stuff. So you don't want to play Zen. But that's not the case too much. So you just play Zen. And with Zen, even currently, Ana is played in some maps like Hanamura. Ana is played lots. But I feel like, yeah, Zen is like the default pick, and then you have the other spots. And then mostly like Lucio or Mercy are better choice than Ana. That's like the biggest problem, I think. Maybe if Zen was a bit weaker, Ana would probably see a bit more playtime. But I feel like she's a pretty good hero. Pretty balanced. Maybe they could buff her a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've seen a little bit of her every once in a while, but I don't know if it's more of just like there's just not a good Zen on that team more so than Ana being just something strong. Okay. Well, anyways, thanks everybody for writing in those questions on Twitter. I really appreciate it. Even the emails too. But I think we're gonna wrap up, given that we wanted to stop by midnight, and it's like pretty much that. Like the bells are gonna be ringing, gonna be turned into pumpkins and things. But Fragi, thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate you, especially us getting off to a late start. So really appreciate you being patient with us, and it's a good time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, and again, sorry about the good old LA traffic.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah. Any shout outs you want to do before you take off?
I guess, I don't know, shout out to all the Philly fans supporting us. Shout out to the organization. They keep good care of us, and yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome. ZP? The Doomfist?
No. Doom, I don't even really have too much personal shouts aside from watch Contenders if you haven't. Ridiculous storylines have been going on. Look, when you have the Grizzlies defeat Flower out of nowhere on XL2, it's like,
that's
what?
Crazy.
But more than else, I just kind of want to reiterate, Fragi, thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure kind of watching your journey over time, where it's obviously been crazy for everyone involved, but who would have thought that weekly tournaments way back when would culminate in this, where you are now living in LA, you have a chef making you great food, and you get to charge in the people on the biggest stage.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just the beginning, man. This is just the beginning. Yeah, just thank both of you guys for doing the show today. Everybody for staying up late with us, and we hadn't done a show in a couple weeks, so thanks for tuning in. Of course, we'll get the VODs up on youtube.com/ChanManV after this. Follow the channel or follow the show at the Overview GG. Oh, and one last thing too. So, obviously I live in Florida and been doing viewing parties. So we started the Chaos Crew, which is like our viewing party organization. So you can check out some of the ones. Actually, you're going to see us play Philly actually in Miami here. So here's just the list of the next 3 viewing parties we have. I'll be hosting the one in West Palm Beach, but yeah, check it out. We're just getting this started, and unlike the other teams, we have a whole state to cover. Okay, and not just one city, so it's a little bit. It's been definitely a challenge, but definitely a challenge we're definitely up for. So keep a lookout for that. Follow the just Chaos Crew FL for any of the updates on that. But that's gonna be it, guys, for the overview tonight. So for Fragi, ZP, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week.
All right.
Farewell.